Well, joining me once again here on Private Club Radio, Frank Vane, president of the McMahon Group. Frank, how are you doing through this whole crisis?
Doing well. It's been a different lifestyle. As you know, I spent a lot of time on the road, and I've been home now for about 7 weeks. So that's been a real personal change in lifestyle, but all safe and sound, and kind of enjoying that. And it's been a good time to reflect and research and plan. So it's been has some benefits too.
Yeah. You gotta look at the bright side of a lot of these situations. Got to
Right.
spend a little bit more time with family. I would have been taking a lot more trips, that sort of thing. So it's true.
Right.
So how about St. Louis locally? What's the current status of clubs in the Midwest there?
Well, we've been fairly active. St. Louis and St. Louis County and the area around here. Golf has been permitted throughout the period. And it's very, very active. I belong to a club with 36 holes of golf, and it's typically we don't have to think very hard about getting on the course usually. And now you look at the tee sheet, it's quite full. There's been, I think, record levels of play. Club's done a nice job with takeout food. It's been very active. They provided a nice value with that. People have been very pleased with that. And then they're easing the restrictions here in the area. So our club started last week with, as you go play golf, they've got some outdoor cooking going and that sort of thing, which is sort of, again, a form of takeaway that you can, you take outside the clubhouse and all that. So our clubs are pretty active. We've had nice, it's actually weather-wise, it's been a nice April too. So they've gotten up and running and been pretty active. Obviously on the other side, of course, all events are canceled and outings and revenue issues that they're facing, and all having to, sort of really, think through that and think how they'll deal with those side. But I think they're doing a good job of engaging the members and having good activity.
I know you had some thoughts on, what happened in the last quote unquote crisis back, when the economy, took a downturn in the 2007, 2008. What were some of the lessons we learned from that? And what are some of the things clubs should be doing so that we don't make some of those same mistakes?
Well, it's important to we're club boards and a lot of the way members themselves are pretty action oriented people, and so they tend to see a crisis or a challenge, and they want to solve it very, very quickly. And that's human nature, and particularly for the kind of folks who are in clubs. But unfortunately, that can often lead to mistakes. And when we look back at 2007, 8, 9, the clubs that were thoughtful, understood their brand, their position, maintained their initiation fees, maintained a member focus, really understood that, frankly, it's a private club. They aren't for everyone. And they're trying to operate at the upper end of the luxury, the hospitality scale. And so actions of cutting initiation fees, sometimes they even sold multiple dues level. Let's have new members come in, pay lesser fees, all the way to having events and chasing other kinds of, non-traditional revenue and those sorts of things that ultimately damage your brand and are hard to turn around when you come out of it. And so, what we're really trying to coach clubs is take some time. And then we're not talking about, developing a complex and comprehensive strategic plan, but think strategically as you look at the coming season and make sure that you understand who you are. And while you're going to operate irregularly, you want to always have in mind what's the quality of what we're doing, how consistently can we do it, what's the value that we're offering to our members, and keep those watchwords in play and accept the realities of what you have to deal with, and not try and shoot from the hip and all of a sudden we're going to solve this week. This is going to be an evolving process, and be thoughtful and be mindful as you go through that. And I think you'll have a much better outcome.
Yeah, that's great advice. And it's been nice to see that clubs weren't, like you said, I haven't seen too many clubs slashing fees or dues. It's been good to see for the most part. I've seen a couple of instances of clubs relaxing some rules, maybe letting people go on a bit of a hiatus, something like that. But that's been few and far between. I think the overwhelming majority, understood that, hey, you're an owner of a club, and this is your responsibility too, and we're all in this together. So that's been great to see.
Well,
What?
that's a great word. I mean, that's the owner is, I mean, and that's where you really see the separation. The clubs that have a culture and a style where the members do think of themselves as owners, far different from those clubs that think of, I'm a member, I'm a renter, and therefore they adopt all these commercial practices and all these kinds of things that undermine that owner mentality. And yeah, I agree with you. We've not seen big fallout in membership or that across clubs. So far people are sticking in there, and but that's a great watchword. Always encourage your members to think about owners. We are in this together. We'll get through this and figure it out in that manner, and not adopt these short-term and contradictory practices.
Yeah. What do you think some of the long-lasting effects of this will be? What will some of the changes that were done during this time that will be permanent down the future?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think the things we're seeing and reading and researching and getting feedback from management and members themselves. The whole notion of from the COVID period, people are they've slowed down in terms of lifestyle. The whole sort of work from home and flexible scheduling is a big part of it. Um, Obviously a near-term desire for safety and security. Those kinds of issues are going to be paramount on members' minds, and you want to work towards those. I think if you look at the current home, right, we've turned our homes now into, we live there, we sleep there. Now we're working there,
School
educating
teachers there.
children there. Exactly. All those things are happening. And when we think about the club as the home away from home, I think you're going to see, again, more of those practices. I think a lot of people are going to like aspects of the lifestyle that they have. So therefore, they may be going to their club. And so that the club that has, drop-in spaces, Wi-Fi cafes, the ability to do some work and do some things that way, as well as recreate and socialize, I think those elements are going to stick with us for a long time. And so just as our houses change, we think our clubhouses need to change in ways that reflect that. Near term, pretension, formal dining, stuffy, all those things that were frankly kind of on their way out anyway, tend to be accelerated in these kinds of environments. People want to be relaxed, casual, and fun, and really think about their club as a sanctuary where they can enjoy that.
Do you think we've seen the last of the club buffet?
Oh, I'd say so. Yeah, dining is going to be, we're really kind of focused in on upscale casual. That's really, and I think the opportunity for clubs is, you always have that. Clubs always talk about their tradition, and the idea is to sort through what's a value and what's a real tradition and what's a bad habit, right? And so clubs often maintain things that are frankly bad habits. And so this is a chance to rethink some of those. And dining had already been moving into a whole different platform. And this is going to give the opportunity to rethink about that in ways to be more casual. Probably takeout's going to, maybe a thing of the future, while it's still regarded from a tax status as a non-traditional income. Organizations like the National Club Association and others are trying to get that changed. Members are probably going to like that as a feature. And it also sets them up for, as we say, Wi-Fi cafes and self-service sort of environments, quick casual settings. I think those are here to stay, and you'll certainly see in this year, cutlery and takeaway foods and things like that. Clean is going to be the desire, not so much service and formality.
Yeah, we were doing we've been doing these private club leader roundtables weekly with some of my folks, and I know one of the subjects that was brought up, well, that clubs may have a chief COVID-19 officer moving forward potentially, where they're responsible for making sure that things are cleaned on the hour. Almost like you'd have a list in the bathroom of who cleaned it last. I mean, there'd be a checklist for everything. So
Well, we're talking about really setting up a medical task force
yeah.
that you would take form a committee, just like all committees in clubs. It can be, to provide some guidance and have some members serving on that, and also have some staff. Big thing we're focused on is that we're not going to be able to get that member experience right until you make the staff comfortable
Right.
and secure and safe and all those sorts of things. So really focusing on them and having them a voice, giving them a voice in that committee. And so by forming that committee, like all committees, you'll get a touchstone, you'll get some information. What do we want to do here, and what's the style of the club? Because clubs are going to have a regional difference. The age profile of your membership is going to make a difference. All those factors are going to come into play. And so that committee can reflect that. And on the other side, management and the board can broadcast to the membership that we have such a group in place, and they're thinking about you. They're thinking about this experience, and build that confidence. We've got to build confidence among people to get them out, right? And we see that as the great advantage for clubs. We can control the environment. We can emphasize that, I think we control access, maybe one entry. You're coming in, we're, could be taking your temperature. We're certainly taking, your name and your phone number for contact tracing. We're taking out seats in the dining room. We're not concerned that the dining room is going to be half its size than what it was, because dining is not a commercial venture for us anyway. It's an engagement tool. So clubs can more readily adapt those practices that would be very difficult if you're a commercial restaurateur, to shut down half your tables, and people aren't going to pay double the price. So the economics of that are going to be very, very difficult for them. Clubs where this was already a kind of a loss leader, if you will, or as I say, a social tool, they can modify that dining platform and be quite successful. And they're going to have to emphasize the tactics that they are using and make members comfortable to come back.
Yeah. And I also love that, clubs taking the initiative with the, virtual events and things like that. And I think we'll see a lot more of that where, hey, you can be at the club on a Friday night, but if you're traveling, if you're a businessman, in another city, or businesswoman, I should say as well, you'll be able to take part in that event virtually. I think those are some of those good things, again, that are coming out of this. Now, you guys started off in the McMahon Group really as an architectural firm. And so I'd love to hear from you. I mean, do you think that the clubhouses will, from a design aspect, are you starting to think of new ways that clubhouses will look in the future as we go forward
We
here?
are, yeah, no, absolutely. Near term, it'll be interesting to see, when the events could come back, right? Certainly in near term, I think you're going to look at 2020, 2021, as a lot of this event space that clubs have is to repurposing that to have it member space. That's where you can come up with a Wi-Fi cafe. Again, you can look at ways to do that. I was reading some regulations from the state of Rhode Island yesterday. They're going to let you have a wedding for 50 people from now through August, and then they're thinking that in August, if things are going well, you might be able to have 100 people,
Mm.
right? So there's a lot of clubs sitting there with 200 and 300 person ballrooms that are going to be pretty vacant for a while, and so I think you'll see a diminishment of that. And the new business model, at least near term anyway, is stressing the member focus. And so that's why when you think about that clubhouse now as the home away from home clubhouse, and so it can do all those things of, families, children, dining, work from, remote work, etc. Those are all things that you'll look within the facilities there. I don't know if you've seen it. It was a client of ours. We did the master plan for it. And actually the was developed pre-COVID, but Carmel Country Club in Charlotte just announced their master plan last week, and the improvements that they're doing. The whole lower level of that clubhouse, I would say, Panera, no disrespect to Panera, but that would probably be, a step down from what they're describing. But in a way, it's a Panera. It'll be a counter operation. You'll go up and get food. They'll bring that food to you through a flag system, or that leads out to an outdoor patio that's very casual, and a whole indoor outdoor look to that. So it's a way for them to provide a different style of dining, and frankly, going to turn out to be quite prescient given the changes there. It'll be absolutely something that you'll see as a new operating platform for clubs.
Yeah, that sounds like a winner for sure. I'd love to see more of that rolled out. Again, I think clubs, they're uniquely positioned, especially in a world of social distancing, a place where you can actually let your guard down a little bit. I mean, not from a safety
Right.
perspective, but to have some of those social interactions that you're missing because we're all living virtually right now. We're going to be dying to get back into our clubs very soon.
Well, the
What's new
members have
with
that
them?
relationship with their staff, right? So
Right.
that's different. We care for a lot of members, frankly, your staff members are as important to you as any of your friendships and the fellow members, and that you would. So we care about
Yep.
Chris the bartender and all that. Chris the bartender also cares about you, so he's not going to come to work when he's sick and those kinds of things,
Right.
and we can control that, and that's why we say really, clubs should be celebrating that. It's maybe not been politically correct in the last, decade or more to be talking about a private member enclave and all those kinds of things in a kind of a globalist style world. But privacy and exclusivity is going to be in certainly for the near future. And clubs would be well served to do that. The clubs that have always had that member focus have been the most successful anyway. And
Yeah.
the ones that have chased commercial business and all that, holding on by their fingernails anyway to make that happen. This will give you a time to rethink that and really go back and what do your members want? How do we make them comfortable? How do we get them out to the club? And how do we keep the staff safe and providing services for them?
Absolutely. So it could be a good time to look at your strategic plan. Let's talk about how the McMahon Group can help clubs out there with their strategic planning.
Well, that's it. We're going to talk about, kind of our focus this year is what we're calling refresh and reset. And so that, again, the notion there is to refresh your strategy. Think about that. And again, not to think about some complex and overly burdensome strategic plan. Think about clearly what are your core values and what do you need to do at the club there, and then have that inform this new operating model that you're going to provide as a club. So getting the leadership to gather around first and talk about those kinds of things, give management then the tools they need, the information they need to go out and modify operations accordingly and put your programs together that way thoughtfully. So part of that can include things like a short targeted member survey. What, Mr. Member, would make you comfortable in coming to the club? What sort of protocols do you want us to have? Which will have the ability to give you data and information about what they really care about, and also show the member, again, you're concerned about them. Same thing with staff surveys. What do we need to do to make you comfortable and come to work to do that? Get some good, kind of quick information that way. Think about how you would apply that information within the context of your club, and then roll out your operating plan. And really look at this like, seasonal clubs go through this all the time, right? They shut down at the end of season, a summer club or that sort of thing, and has to go come back out of this for the new year. Really think about this as a fresh start for everyone, and come out of this just like a seasonal club would. Reintroduce yourself to your members, reintroduce your membership to your new policies and practices, and get people together and get them up and running and feeling, comfortable, safe, and ready to go. As we say, we see from what's happening in golf out there, where golf is being played. I think record levels of golf are being played.
Right.
So people are ready to get to it, and then figuring out how you can do that and really celebrate that. It's could be in every opportunity, right? Every crisis has opportunity, and it's going to present some opportunities for us on the club side.
Absolutely. Well, definitely want you guys to check out the McMahon Group website. Very simple, mcmahongroup.com. We will link that here below in the show notes. Frank, I appreciate you coming on Private Club Radio with us and sharing your wisdom, sir.
Gabe, always great to talk to you. Thanks for all you're doing for clubs, your roundtables and everything. This has been a great source of information for everybody through this period, and we're glad to be part of it. So thanks for allowing us to be here today.